It's been a while since I posted another video, but I finally stopped being lazy and being forced to do this one. I say forced, I'm just kind of kidding there. But so I want to cover the Vexor Navy use. This is one of my favorite cruisers in the game. It's just a monster. This thing has such a large engagement profile that you can get into a lot of trouble with this thing, and it's very, very fun. But first, like always, we're going to cover the cruiser bonuses here. 10% hit points, damage, and tracking speed for the drones. This is really, really good. 10% bonus per level, damage and tracking speed, and then 7.5% per level for armor repair amount. These are some crazy good bonuses. Tracking speed, like I keep telling folks, is one of the best bonuses you can have on a ship. So let's go into our attributes here. This is with my skills as well and the current pitting I have on there, but typically you want to look at, especially with Galente armor holes, you want to make sure you watch out for this right here. This is going to be your hole in your resists that can cause us some issues. Also, we have drone bandwidth of 75 megabits. The Vexor Navy has picked up some nerfs along the many years of its service. So 75 megabits will have you have some interesting drone layouts that we'll show you here in a bit. And you have a 200 M3 bay for drones. So that's very, very good. So let's go to your slot layout here. As we go in here, let's get over into this fitting right here. Boop. All right. So this has 3 gun slots and then a utility high, and then you've got 4 mids and then 6 lows, which is just lends it to being an armor tank ship. You can do shield tank. I've seen folks do some polarized buffer shield things with this thing for maximum blaster damage and stuff like that, which is kind of hilarious. But this is the one I've had the most fun with. You load up 3 heavy ions with a Nosferatu, Scram, medium cap booster, Microwarpdrive, AB, and then you can waffle on which mids you want. Now, if you're getting a solo engagement, I think the other hardener would be a good solid choice. The reactive hardener right here, I think that is also a very solid choice if you're getting into a lot of solo fights. But I think for, and as you see a lot of these other fights I get into, having just the blanket resist is probably the better choice because you're going to be hitting by so many damage types, it's not going to spool to the proper thing there. DDA for that extra damage, Ancillary armor repper for the rep, and then rep right here as well. In my fit, when I link that in the video here, I'm going to put the drugs in here as well because you want these drugs in here because this can pump up your rep amount a lot. And just be aware you should train the skills for uh, the drug skills so that way you can get the less chance of a negative bonus. The tracking bonus isn't as harmful because this does get a tracking bonus, so it's not as bad, and you can also mitigate that with some drop. But the biggest one you don't want to have is the capacitor one because this thing is already exceedingly cap hungry, and so if you lose that capacitor or get that capacitor penalty, it really hurts in a fight, especially even with medium newts or small newts on you. It really wrecks it, and it's really hard to keep up your rep when doing that, even with the NOS and the cap boosters running. So just to show you guys, so if you pull a hard shell 2, your rep goes from the 650 to 691, and then if you roll your exile here, you can go up to almost 863, and if you heat that, you're looking at almost 1,000 EHP, so 900. Again, if you go higher, run Asclepions in here, this thing is just a monster when you start repping, and you can tank a lot. I've been 6v1 on this thing. Be aware it's against T1 cruisers, but I've comfortably done 3 and 4v1s in this thing against T1 cruisers and some 3v1s and some Navy cruisers and still managed to survive with this thing. This thing is just a monster when it comes to that regard. I do prop this one so that way if you do get scrammed, you can still prop around and mitigate some of that DPS depending on the situation. AB, you're going about 714 with no web on you, and then if you're trying to close distance, you still, it's not super fast, but 1900 is not terrible. So this is not a nano kiter by any stretch of imagination, but it can get you around to what you need to do, get you back to gate if you're trying to crash gate camp. So yeah, this is an incredibly fun ship to run in, guys. And let me undock here real quick, and I will show you the drone layout that I typically run with this thing. Run with this ship. So some changes I'll have in the fit as well. Instead of running Hornets, we're going to run ECs. So you want that pocket send, those disarmor drones to help maybe break some tackle on something if you need to bounce in here, or If you want to deal with, or if you're dealing with Vedmax and stuff like that, and you want to try to break that spool, that's a good option. Throw the EC drones out real quick, see if you can break that spool, and then re-engage and add your drones back to it. But typically, I run with a set of EM, which will be 2 heavies, 2 mediums, 1 light, and then I have an explosive set, which 2 Berserkers, 2 Valkyries, 1 Warrior, and then a set of light drones, which should be Warriors. So you can maybe grab that interceptor, push interceptors or Garmers or something like that off of you if you can. But yeah, that's the drone layout right there. So that's what I suggest running with this thing. Again, this is all interpretation and what you guys run into in your areas of space. But with this being dual prop, I think you can be successful with this in null. You watch some other streamers like that guy Toxic and some other folks run with this Vexor Navy, and you can see the success you have and the engagement profile it has is pretty wide. So thank you all, and we'll see you in the rest of the video. Hey. So, I don't have very many lost mails on this one, or losses to show you guys, but I wanted to show this one. This is me and a friend roaming around in nullsec versus overclockers, apparently. I didn't find this out till later, and just show you how absolutely outclassed we both are to this. Malediction, Draugr, Garmer, Orthrus, Stork, and they just hand us our backside on this. Yeah, I couldn't rep through all of that damage. It's just double Orthrus now at the end of this, so I just want to show that this thing is great at roaming and doing stuff like that, but when you're against some high-end nano gangers like the overclockers, there's just not much you can do there. But good fights on local, and we'll start getting into the other videos here. Alright, starting off with the Caracal Navy issue here. If you notice, I'm using the old fit here, so I'm going to rush through this just because it's a pretty straightforward fight. I believe he was rapid light fit, and so he's not gonna be able to hold up to me. So I just keep it range 1000, apply full damage to him. I should have had void loaded, but sometimes you just kind of go with what you got, so you don't have to swap ammo just so you can deal damage. Because at this point, I'm hoping that he's not gonna have friends behind him, and since we're working inside Lasner here, if you look at local, they're pretty thick in here, but. A Caracal Navy doesn't really stand a chance against this kind of fit, so you'll watch me just kind of go through this pretty quick. That's why I've sped it up for us, and just give enough time, and down he goes. So, on to the next fight here, and we'll see. Now, on this right here, I slowed it down just because this fight was looking to be a pretty interesting one, because you see they got Logi on grid here, along with a couple other ships, but they all decide to bounce. This is one of the things why I like a dual prop Vexor Navy, so that way I can close range on something before it gets away. Luckily enough, we managed to catch Celestis. Their DPS boat leaves, and it leaves the Logi and the Celestis. I figured the Logi would stick around, but I think I bump into him or something, as he doesn't warp off immediately, and then he decides to warp here in a second. Also, I don't know why I didn't get Scram on there. That's as close as I was. But I think I was trying to go for the Logi first, if I remember correctly. But yeah, this is just a straightforward kill the Celestis before help arrives kind of situation. This is also why I like hunting in insurgency systems that are a little bit further away from the fob. This helps ensure that if it's going to be help coming, it's limited and a little bit better chance of getting a better fight here. Fortunately, the only thing I can keep here is the Celestis, which is pretty easy to put down. I don't even think I really rep here at all, so easy fight there. Moving on next is to the ENI. Now, I've seen Toxic's fit with the ENI, and it does very well if you can apply that damage. And like Toxic himself has said, the way to mitigate that is to orbit closely. And so you'll see me keep it range here initially, and then I realize my error, and I start orbiting. And if I don't orbit, you should orbit. So definitely orbit these ENIs unless you can kite them out a little bit. So I get in here, get the scram, start repping. And then what you should do is, you should have popped your drugs already, alright? That's the problem. Make sure you pop your drugs as soon as you start this fight. And then he's going to start nuding me. I need to get my NOS on there, so there we go. And then there it is. Get the AB on, start orbiting. That's going to mitigate a lot of his damage that he's going to be able to apply, and then this is a pretty easy fight at that point, because I can just orbit it. Explosive drones, of course, hopefully we haven't covered that, but if he has a adaptive on there, that'll help. But with that nude on there, I have to be watchful. So I keep making sure I'm capped up and going there. And this is a pretty straightforward fight. I'm orbiting him. Even with the web on me, I still have enough to kind of hurt that transversal for him. As you can see, he's not doing a ton of damage to us. I'm only running 1 rep at a time here. So good fight to this guy though, but yeah. ENI versus VNI, it's VNI all the way. Unless you can get a max damage ENI and you're not keeping transversal, and then they can really put the hurt to you. But yeah, next fight we're going to get into here after this one will be a 3v1, so this is going to be really interesting here. Again, this is another reason why I love coming and fighting in the Insurgency against Fraternity especially. I've never gotten in such good fights anywhere else in EVE. So I'm sliding into 3 Vexors right here. These were all meta blaster fit, if I recall correctly. And so this can be really dangerous. There's a lot of DPS from the drones and those guys. Thankfully, though, there wasn't a lot of newts here, so that helps me not die in fire. Because if they were all newt fit, I think I'd die to this group of folks. So I dropped drones. I waffle about which ones I'm going to use. And finally dropped my EM drones for whatever reason, as they're my favorites. So we just went to town and just orbiting the first guy. And again, I like orbiting with the ENI, or excuse me, the Vexor Navy, just because of that tracking bonus. Unless you roll poorly with your exile, which you can mitigate by using a drop, there's a good chance you can mitigate that downside to that. So we're just going to orbit the first one. I haven't even locked up the other 2. I would definitely suggest that you lock up the other 2 ships that are on this grid and pay attention. But right now the DPS isn't that good. It's because I don't think they're applying properly. I think they're orbiting. I don't think they're doing much there. There's one guy who's sitting at 0 velocity, so this guy's most likely multi-boxing. We all know these guys are multi-boxing on average, so we're just trying to kill what we can here. My cap's getting very low. One of the things I failed to do here is manage my cap. You'll notice that in a lot of videos. I have trouble managing my cap, and so when I'm cycling my cap booster there, you definitely want to heat that so you can get that cap booster up again as quickly as possible. Now, I could still very much die here because they're all finally getting fully involved now and really applying their DPS here. So I really need to kill one of these guys so that way I can move on to the next. But once I kill one, I should be able to stabilize fairly easily here, as long as I can manage my cap a bit better. I did run out of nanite on my Ancillary Repper, but thankfully I didn't have the reload turned on, so it didn't go in automatic reload. Definitely make sure you turn that off before you go into these fights, just in case you need that, and that's why cap management is incredibly important, because that's going to really hurt your cap as you run that, because you desperately need to, more often than not. I've shut off my AB just so I can keep more cap in my ship. As you can see, running the cap boost only puts me about half right now. I am scrambled web, so I'm not moving super fast here, but they're still keeping either at range or orbiting me, so they're not very far from me, so I just kind of approach them and apply my damage. I should be heating my DPS just so I can put these guys down just in case they have friends. There's a lot of people in local here, so that's another misplay by me. I should be heating my reps as well, just at least one of them to keep me topped up on HP here before, in case anyone else shows up. But there you go. I finally realized what I was doing. Heat the cap booster, hitting the damage finally, and then we're going to put this guy down, and then it's off to the races on the other guy. I did put the NOS on the guy I'm not shooting, because hopefully he has more cap than the other guy. And then it's just straightforward from here. No one else shows up in this fight, and I managed to put down 3 Vexors, which is pretty good. This is just how good this thing can rep, and how well it can stay on field, and the amount of DPS you have there. Now, what they could have done there, and they could have just defanged me. They have enough drones and stuff here. They could have just held me, killed all my drones, and then I just have my guns, and then I just die a slow, painful death. But I think he was multi-boxing, and so a little harder to do that kind of thing when you're multi-boxing 3 different tunes. And this is just me going through and finally putting this one down as he lines off trying to get away from me here. But now I have the AB, I have the cap, so I'm not being pressured near as much, so now I can just approach him with the AB on and keep him close to me. The only downside to this dual prop setup is there's no web to help with your range mitigation, or to keep folks within your range. That's the real only downside to this. So if you have a lot of webs on you, this AB is not going to do near as much as you would hope for. I didn't get a chance to record it, but I did die to 3 Omens, just regular T1 Omens with beams, and they had so many webs on me I couldn't get close to them. Even with null, I wasn't doing enough DPS to put them down because they were so brick tanked, and I just died pretty horribly to that. So this thing does have its limitations. You can die to T1 ships in this, so just be very aware of what you're doing with this. This is a lot of active button pushing, but it's such a fun ship, y'all. All right, for this one, I put some markers over this. This is during my stream, so you guys don't see any of the stream stuff other than my kills up there in the top. So right here, I'm again in the insurgency, and I'm sliding to 3 Omen Navies. I fully expected to die here. I was hoping maybe to get one, or they'd be kite fit and they would all kite off. But one was fairly close, so I overheat my prop mod, burn at him real quick, and this other one burns about kind of parallel towards me, so I ended up grabbing him first and I just sit on top of him and start doing damage here. This is the old fit with the reactive hardener on it, and if you look there, I think that's probably what saved me in this. That reactive probably spooled enough to where that EM therm damage didn't do near as much. And I should have heated it so it cycled a bit quicker, so that's a misplay again. I should have heated that for when I hit armor, so that way when it starts spooling, I would have done a bit better there. Then they also had EC drones out, so I do lose lock here and have to relock and panic. And this is the old fit, meaning I don't have an AB, so it's harder for me to keep it range on these guys if I'm not careful. And so you see me use the Microwarpdrive like once or twice here to try to catch these guys. But they are nano fit if I recall, so once I get on top of these guys, I can put them down pretty quickly. But these newts, even though they weren't I don't believe they're medium newts, but even so, those newts really, really put a hamper on this thing. And if I rolled a capacitor penalty on this one, I don't remember if I did, that really hurts. You see, I go to 0 cap multiple times here, and again, I fail to run my overheat my cap booster to get that loaded quicker and cycle a bit more. I stopped using my newt, thankfully. I realized how low my cap was getting, so not using the cap, not using the newt or the micro warp drive at all. But thankfully, these guys are staying pretty close, other than the other guy, and so it's just a matter of trying to get on top of them, keep my cap up. As I've killed one, I've stabilized, and we're doing pretty well here. I did surprisingly well. I don't know what was happening here, but I think the reactive hardener helped me out quite a bit. Now that I got one down, I'm not even running my reactive, which is, again, another mistake. I should have kept it running just because you never know. Someone else could show up here. I keep hovering over the newt for whatever reason, but I should be heating DPS a lot more than I am during this whole thing. Looks like they were killing my drones at one point, so I'm not sure that's the play there. But again, this guy lets me catch him for some reason. I think this guy was probably multi-boxing all 3 of these accounts, is my guess. And I managed to get an overheated scram on him, because if you look, it's suppression 5, so that means I get an extended scram range, so I can get him around 13 kilometers with that scram. And so I managed to get him scrammed, and that's about it for this fight, which is, again, amazing fight. Like I said, this thing does very well outnumbered. It outperforms in every metric, for my opinion. That's why I say it's the best Navy cruiser in the game. And like I keep telling folks, learn from my mistakes, see what I'm doing wrong here, and make sure you apply those to your fights, and you will do very, very well. All right, so now we're escalating a little bit. So this was a 2v1 turned into 4v1, which I think ends up being about 3v1 on average. But so I slide into 2 caracals. These 2 caracals are, I believe one is ham and one is rapid light. As you see, I'm taking pretty significant damage here, but I'm only running 1 repper right now, just so that way maybe keep these guys interested. And then I notice, oh, I've got Osprey Navy and Arbitrator sliding in on me, so now I'm cycling the second repper to keep my damage up. And again, I failed to be heating the damage early, which I should have done. Also, I should be cap boosting right here just to keep my cap up, because you're going to watch my cap go down significantly as the Arbitrator gets in and absolutely eviscerates my Capacitor. I managed to kill one of the caracals, and now we're going to work on this Osprey Navy issue. I don't know if that was the right call. I mean, it's going to be a lot of DPS to get off the field, but I think the Arbitrator probably would have been a better call just to help with my cap. Because this guy's going to have an XLASB, and he's going to be able to rep his 9 cycles off of that before I can really put him down. So I have to make sure I tank this. Again, I'm not running my repper like I need to be. I did cycle my cap booster with some heat, so thankfully that's going to be going. Also, I'm still not heating my guns. This is still early on when I was trying to get video for this, and I just failed to keep heating that. Again, my guns are off at this point. My tackle is off at this point, and it's just failure to manage my cap. And that's why these fights are probably a little closer than they should be. As I go back in on this Osprey Navy. Again, if I had killed the Arbitrator first, I think I would have been far better off in this fight. And I got lucky no one else slid into me. either. But again, he's out of ASB charges now, and it looks like I should be able to finish him off in short order. And then we'll start moving on to the other ships on this grid here. Again, Osprey. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't finish off the other Caracal. The other Caracal still putting me deep in the hole here. As again, I took the heat off my guns. I don't know why I did that. You definitely do not want to let off on the heat on your guns, because as close as this fight is, I could have very well died here if I wasn't careful. And again, look, I'm finally paying attention to my cap now, because I know I'm getting very low here. And so finally, I put this Osprey Navy down. I should be able to stabilize after this, and then we're going after the Caracal. So I lock up the Caracal since he's the closest one there, and again, I think I should have went for the Arbitrator, but he's also 20 some odd kilometers away, so I decided to go on the Caracal here. I could have sent my drones after the Arbitrator, but with my Capacitor not doing near as well, I decided to stay on him with my drones and everything. But again, I should be fairly stable now. It's only the Caracal and the Arbitrator here, so I should be able to do fine with this. So I'm only one repper. Again, I'm not heating my guns. Heat your guns, y'all. Take them to as close as you can get to burning out, so that way you can get your maximum amount of DPS on these guys before they round on you. So you see me aligning towards the Arbitrator now. As I know I'm going to put this Caracal down, I want to get ready here. And I preheat the Microwarpdrive, which is the best thing I've done in this fight, to get ready to burn at this guy and see if we can catch him. If he's aligned off, he should be good to go. But I heat the Microwarpdrive, and this thing is quicker than folks would expect. Almost 2K when you got a heat on there. But he manages to warp off to the station. So good fights in local. That was a really, really, really fun one right there. But yeah, thank you all for joining me. I just wanted to show off the versatility of this boat, and this thing is an incredible performer. Definitely deserves more love than it gets. Again, thank you for joining me. Check me out on Twitch, Orion_Sa_Solo. Links will be in the description below. Check out Toxic. That guy Toxic, he does some wonderful things with the Vexor Navy out in Nullsec. And yeah, thank you all for hanging out with me. You all have a wonderful day out here.